Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Reporter's Notebook. For someone who's maybe never watched Reporter's Notebook before, it's a really fun segment we get to do here at WNCT. Sort of towards the end of our workday, we get to bring in some coworkers in here to the digital studio and chit-chat about the stories that they cover for you guys each and every day, dive a little deeper into those stories, and kind of give a behind-the-scenes look of what it's like to be a reporter in the industry. So today I am joined by Miss Victoria Holmes here in the digital studio. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Like you said, it's Friday, and it's the end of my work day, so I'm ready for the weekend. So I'm in a happier mood than I was this morning.
Definitely. And we were just talking before we came on here about, ECU's football game is tomorrow, the first home game of the season. So it's going to be a packed, heavy weekend full of news. But of course, there is another important aspect to what tomorrow is, of course, the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. So a very, very important and very heavy day for our nation as a whole. So you actually had a story relating to the 9/11 attacks and what people can kind of expect tomorrow as they're going to events. So talk to us about, who you spoke to today and what people can expect.
So I talked to someone who's basically an expert when it comes to security measures, especially at a national level. And I talked to him about what kind of security measures have been implemented since the attacks. One very interesting thing that I did not know until today, and I feel so not dumb, but I just didn't know this, is the Department of Homeland Security was created directly because of the attacks from 9/11. And I thought that was really interesting to know, because I've always thought the Department of Homeland Security was something that had always existed. I don't know why I didn't, think of it as being relatively new. So that was one big interesting fact that I always like to take away something when I do these stories. And the fact that the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, was created from the 9/11 attacks is just one big thing that if you didn't know, that's something to kind of take away. And then when it comes to security measures, the criminologist, his name is Dr. Alex Del Carmen, he was telling me that a lot of the security measures, think about, the airport lines, TSA. Emily, I know you already talked about how airports and flying, how that was also impacted from the 9/11 attacks. But then there was also the fact that it kind of pushed us to be a little bit more aware and to maybe even invest in spending when it comes to security measures, especially now since the attacks aren't always going to be something physical. It could be more along the lines of cybersecurity and infrastructure in terms of the digital space and stuff like that. So it kind of prompted the United States to invest more in homeland security measures. I mean, you got the Department of Homeland Security, and then you got a few investments into defense spending as well. So it just kind of prompted a lot of things. But when it comes to events themselves, just to be more aware, be more cautious. I know a lot of people are probably more aware of what's happening in the event space when these memorials are happening. And of course, these events, they're honoring people who fought I want to say the fires and fought all the negative aspects of when the towers collapsed. So a lot of the law enforcement agencies will be at these events anyways to honor those who have fought and died for our country and for those who were killed during the 9/11 attacks. So it's these events will already have a large law enforcement police force on the ground. And then also I know that there was a letter sent from the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI sent to local law enforcement agencies saying hey, just a reminder, just a memo, this is something to be aware of, that all of these events, just heighten up your security. There's no threats that they have detected at the moment. And this memo was sent, I believe, earlier this month. So I'm not sure exactly what the updates have been since then. But in regards to law enforcement presence at these events, I mean, they're already there and they're aware of course, of all the security issues that they need to take.
Definitely. And I've had some video rolling as you've been talking, kind of some security footage that you have, as well as some footage you got today at the Kinston Stadium, the Wood Duck Stadium. So I know they're having an event tomorrow as well. Mm-hmm. So what did you learn about the event that they're going to be hosting tomorrow in Kinston and kind of the details surrounding that? Right.
So it's going to be at Granger Stadium. It's going to start at 9 a.m. and it's going to be about 60 to 70 minutes from 9 a.m. So I guess until 10:30 7:30 is usually when they'll wrap things up. So it's an earlier event compared to a lot of the other events that are happening across the East. Basically, they're just going to have a presence of local law enforcement there. They're going to have firefighters there, just basically honoring the memory of people who I guess I don't want to say served, because it's not. Firefighters don't serve in the same capacity that soldiers serve, but they are serving their community and honoring the memory of the firefighters who sacrificed their lives to help, after the attacks, like make sure that people were being rescued and all that stuff. So in part, it's also remembering the lives lost from the firefighters, and of course anyone who the people who lost their lives, family members, during the September 11th attacks.
Definitely. And thank you for covering this story. I think this was an important kind of aspect to cover that, maybe not a lot of people even considered or thought about, that there are people that are nervous for this upcoming weekend. It is the 20th anniversary of these horrible, devastating attacks on our country and on our nation. And for a lot of people, this is going to be a really difficult weekend. And they might be nervous, like you said, about, the possibilities that are out there for security and things like that. But I'm really happy that, you were able to kind of confirm with security experts that, we're going to be doing everything we can. Local law enforcement is going to be out there making sure we are doing everything we can to keep people safe and keep this day something to honor and to remember and to pay tribute to people instead of, rather than being nervous and scared. I
think also something that when it comes to the conversation about remembering like the 9/11 attacks, I mean, it was a traumatic event for our nation. And even though there are these memorials happening, across the country, I think it's also safe to say, like, it's okay to take time for yourself. Like, apart from the security aspect of it, it's okay to take time away from yourself. Maybe not to show up to a memorial, but to maybe, it's good to have the support for people whose lives were lost, and it's good to remember that these things happen. Of course, we need to keep that in our memory so that we won't fall victim again to any sort of terrorist attack, and so that we can learn from 9/11. But at the same time, it is traumatic. We've been seeing these images all week, leading up to Saturday. Us as newscasters, we've been rolling 9/11 memorial stories the entire week, and I think it's okay to say, not feel guilt for not showing up to a 9/11 memorial simply because of it's pretty recent, number one, how recent this is, and number two, because it can trigger a lot of emotional responses. Of course, I'm not saying, forget, not for us to
take care
remember
of yourself.
It. Yeah, exactly.
Take care of yourself and your feelings and your emotions about these types of things. That's super important to know where your headspace is at, know where your heart is at, and do what you need to do to make sure that you feel comfortable.
Exactly. So this is definitely something that we should always keep near and dear in our hearts, but at the same time, in order to move forward as a nation, it's also good to kind of just like take a step back and find where you are mentally and emotionally, and see if that's a place that is healthy to be at for you. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Victoria, for taking the time to speak with these experts and reach out to local law enforcement and find out, what are their plans for this weekend, so that you're able to come back and tell us, let the community know, hey, this is going to be taken care of. Local law enforcement is going to be there to make sure that these events are as safe as they can be and as beautiful as they can be, to remember the people that we lost in the 9/11 attack. So thank you so much, Victoria. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. The weather is going to be beautiful. We have an ECU home game, and of course we have the 9/11 20th anniversary remembrance. So have a beautiful weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy your weekend. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time on Reporter's Notebook.